The sun was sinking behind the red cliffs when Ethan stepped into the valley. The wind carried dust that tasted of old stone and forgotten time. Locals called this place cursed. They said no man should ever walk among the ruins. But Ethan was not like the others. He was curious, brave, and maybe a little foolish. The ruins spread before him like the bones of a dead giant. Towering statues lined the broken pathway. Each statue was carved with great detail, showing alien figures with strange armor and sharp eyes. Some looked kind, others cruel. Their stone faces watched him silently as if waiting. Ethan's boots crunched on the cracked stones. He carried a small lamp that flickered in the wind. His heart beat fast, but he smiled anyway. Just rocks, he whispered to himself, just stone and dust. But deep down, he felt something. The air seemed heavy, almost alive. The largest statue stood at the center of the temple ruins. It was taller than any building Ethan had ever seen. The alien woman carved in stone wore a crown of thorns and carried a broken spear. Her face was both beautiful and terrifying. Dust covered her body, but her eyes still seemed to shine faintly in the twilight. Ethan stopped in front of her and tilted his head. "They say you're cursed," he said softly. "But I don't believe in curses." His voice echoed between the tall pillars. For a moment he felt very small, very alone. Then, with a playful grin, he reached out and poked the statue's chest. He laughed under his breath. "See? Nothing." But the laugh died in his throat. A sound like stone cracking echoed through the valley. The statue's chest glowed faintly where his finger had touched. Ethan stumbled back, eyes wide. "No way," he whispered. His lamp shook in his hand, throwing wild shadows across the ruins. The statue's hand moved, slow at first, then faster. Dust fell in clouds as stone turned to skin. Her fingers closed around his wrist with surprising strength. Ethan gasped, his breath caught in his throat. The stone woman was alive. Her eyes opened, glowing like twin stars. She leaned down slightly, her cold hand gripping tighter. And then, to Ethan's shock, she whispered. Her voice was dry, cracked, but clear enough. "You came." Ethan froze. He wanted to pull away, but he couldn't. Something in her gaze held him still. Her lips trembled as she spoke again, this time a little louder. "I waited for you." The ruins began to shake. Stones fell from broken pillars. The ground trembled under Ethan's boots. He heard deep groans. Like the earth itself was waking from sleep. Panic filled his chest. He pulled against her grip, but she did not let go. Her glowing eyes burned into his, and she whispered words he could barely understand. A language older than his world still, he caught fragments. Seal. Broken. Chosen. Ethan's lamp slipped from his hand and shattered on the ground. Darkness closed in, but the statue's glow lit her face. She was no longer just stone. She was flesh and blood. Her hair, long and silver, fell over her shoulders. Her chest rose and fell as she breathed for the first time in ages. Ethan's mind screamed at him to run, but his body would not move. "What are you?" he whispered in fear. Her lips curved into a faint, tired smile. "Not. What? But who?" she said. Then her head tilted slightly as if listening. Her smile vanished. She looked beyond Ethan into the shadows of the ruins. Her voice turned sharp, urgent. "They are waking." Ethan spun around, his eyes darted to the other statues. For a moment everything was silent, then he saw it, a crack running down the arm of another figure. Its stone fist twitching as dust rained down, his blood ran cold. "No. No, no, no," he muttered. His heart pounded like a drum in his chest. He looked back at the woman holding his wrist. Her strength was fading, but her eyes burned with warning. "You must run," she whispered. "But don't leave me." The ground shook harder. A pillar collapsed with a thunderous crash. More statues cracked open, their eyes glowing with the same light. But theirs was not soft or gentle. It was sharp, filled with hunger. Ethan could almost feel their anger. He swallowed hard, sweat dripping down his face. "What did I just do?" he whispered to himself. His hand trembled in her grip. His mind screamed one word, escape, yet even in his fear, something inside him refused to abandon her. She had spoken to him, chosen him. For reasons he could not understand, their fates were now tied. The ruins roared as dust filled the air. Statues stirred all around, and in the middle of the chaos, a young human stood frozen, holding the hand of a woman who should not exist. The night had fallen, and the forbidden ruins had awakened. The dust still floated in the air as Ethan dragged the strange woman out from the fallen stones. His lungs burned from breathing in dirt. His heart thundered like it wanted to burst behind him. The cracks in the other statues grew wider. Groans echoed as if the stone giants were waking from long sleep. The alien woman collapsed to her knees. Her skin was pale, glowing faintly under the moonlight. Her breath came in sharp, uneven gasps. Ethan held her arm to steady her. Her hand was cold, trembling, but alive. She looked up at him, her glowing eyes softer now. Her lips parted and she whispered, "Listen." Carefully. Her voice was weak, but it carried a strange weight. As if every word was important, Ethan knelt close. His instinct screamed at him to run, but his curiosity chained him to her. "What are you? Who are those things?" he asked, his voice cracked with fear, her lips trembled. "I am Soraya," she said slowly, as though the name itself carried memory. "Long ago, I was one of the keepers." Ethan frowned. "Keepers of what?" Her eyes darted toward the statues that were slowly moving, their glowing cracks spreading across their stone bodies. Her voice dropped to a whisper.
"Keepers of the seal," Ethan shook his head, confused.
"I don't understand." He looked back nervously as one statue's head twitched, stone fragments falling like rain. Soraya reached for his hand again. Her grip was weak but insistent. "The seal is breaking," she whispered. "Your touch woke me." "Your blood matches the key." Ethan's throat went dry. "My blood? What do you mean?" She leaned closer. Her hair brushed his arm. Her words came broken but urgent. "Only human, only you can control the gate." Ethan's skin crawled. He felt the weight of her words. He had never believed in fate or destiny. Yet here was an alien woman alive after centuries of stone, telling him his blood was the key to something he did not understand. The ground rumbled again. Ethan looked up to see one of the giant statues pulling its arm free from its stony shell. Its eyes glowed like fire. A deep, guttural roar shook the ruins. Soraya's eyes widened. "Guardians," she whispered. "They do not serve me anymore." Ethan grabbed her arm. "We have to go now." He pulled her up, stumbling as another tremor sent stones rolling across the ground. They ran together through the broken pillars. Ethan's mind racing, the statues were coming alive, their glowing eyes watching. Heavy footsteps shook the earth behind him. Soraya struggled to keep pace, her strength was not yet fully returned. Ethan half carried her, his breath ragged. "Why are they chasing us?" he demanded. Her voice was faint but sharp. "They guard the secret. They cannot let me live." Ethan's heart sank. He glanced back. A towering guardian tore itself free, pieces of stone falling from its shoulders like shattered armor. Its head turned slowly, fixing its burning gaze on Ethan. "Run faster," Ethan shouted, but his legs felt heavy. His lungs screamed for air. They stumbled into a dark corridor, the broken hallway of the ruined temple. The moonlight barely reached inside. Ethan's lamp was gone, but Soraya's faint glow lit the way. The walls were carved with alien symbols, ancient and sharp. Ethan ran his fingers over them as they passed. They felt warm. Pulsing faintly under his touch, Soraya slowed, pressing her palm against one of the carvings. Her eyes glowed brighter. "This place remembers," she whispered. Ethan turned to her. "What does that mean?" She looked at him, her face pale but determined. "The temple knows who you are." Before Ethan could ask more, a deafening crash shook the corridor. The guardian had forced its way inside, its massive frame scraping the walls, its glowing eyes fixed on Ethan and Soraya like a predator hunting prey. Ethan's chest tightened. He grabbed Soraya's hand and pulled her. "No more riddles, we need to survive." They ran deeper into the corridor. The air grew colder. Shadows stretched long across the walls. The guardian's heavy steps echoed behind them, getting closer. Soraya stumbled. Falling to her knees, Ethan pulled her up. But she shook her head. "No." "Stop," she whispered, her eyes locked on his. "You must hear the truth." Ethan's voice rose in panic. "Now. We don't have time." Her grip on his arm tightened with surprising strength. Her voice grew fierce. "If you don't understand, you will die." Ethan froze. His breath shaking behind them, the guardian roared. The sound echoed like thunder through the ruins. Soraya leaned close, her lips brushing his ear. She whispered words that chilled him to the bone. "You are the one chosen to break the chains," her voice cracked. "Or bind them forever." Ethan's blood ran cold. The meaning struck him like a blade. He was not just a witness to this nightmare, he was part of it. The choice, life or destruction, rested with him. The guardian's roar shook the walls. Dust rained down. Ethan grabbed Soraya's hand. His mind racing, he did not know what change she meant. or what seal was breaking. But he knew one thing: he could not abandon her. With one last glance at the glowing monster behind them, Ethan pulled her into the deeper dark. His only thought was survival. But Soraya's words echoed in his mind. Chosen to break the chains, or bind them forever. The ruins whispered their secrets, and Ethan realized he was trapped in something far greater than himself. The air inside the ruined corridor shook with every step of the Guardian. The sound was heavy, like thunder rolling through stone. Ethan gritted his teeth, dragging Soraya deeper into the darkness. His chest burned, his legs ached, but fear pushed him forward behind them. The sound of cracking stone grew louder. Ethan glanced back and his heart almost stopped. Not one, but 3 statues were tearing themselves free. Their glowing eyes lit the shadows. Their movements were stiff, but each step was stronger, faster. "They're multiplying," Ethan whispered. His voice trembled. Soraya's pale glow flickered against the carvings on the walls. She looked back, her face tight with fear. "The Guardians," she said softly. "They were once protectors. Now they hunt us." The words chilled Ethan's blood. "Hunt us for what?" he demanded. His voice cracked as the ground shook. "To guard the secret," Soraya whispered. "They will not stop until it is safe." Ethan swallowed hard. "And by safe you mean without us alive?" Soraya's silence was the only answer he needed. The corridor opened into a vast chamber. Broken pillars leaned like dead trees. In the center stood a cracked altar covered in dust and alien runes. Ethan pulled Soraya behind the altar, pressing against the cold stone. His heart slammed in his chest as heavy footsteps drew closer. The first Guardian stepped into the chamber, its body still half covered in stone, glowing cracks spreading like fire through its form. Its head turned slowly, scanning. A low growl rumbled from its chest. Ethan clutched a broken piece of stone, his hands shaking. What could a rock do against something that size? Still, he raised it, instinct forcing him to fight. Soraya's hand gripped his wrist. "Do not fight them," she whispered urgently. "You cannot win with strength." Her glowing eyes searched his. "The temple reacts to you," she whispered. "Touch the altar, touch the carvings." Ethan stared at her. "What?" But she pushed his hand toward the altar. "Do it now." The Guardians stepped closer, their glowing eyes fixed on the altar where Ethan crouched. The ground shook with their approach. With no choice, Ethan pressed his hand against the altar's carvings. The stone felt hot, pulsing like a heartbeat. Symbols flared to life under his palm. Light spread across the cracks of the altar, crawling up the walls like rivers of fire. The Guardians froze, their glowing eyes flickered. Their heavy bodies trembled. Ethan gasped, pulling his hand back. What did I just do?" Soraya's eyes widened with awe. "You spoke to the temple," she whispered. "It listens to you." The chamber roared as the carvings blazed brighter. The Guardians let out guttural cries, their stone skin cracking faster. One of them slammed its fist against the ground. Shaking the chamber, Ethan stumbled, but Soraya steadied him. "They will not stop," she said firmly. "You have awakened them all." Ethan's stomach dropped. "All? How many are there?" As if to answer, the sound of shattering stone echoed from deeper in the ruins. Dozens of cracks, dozens of roars, the entire temple seemed alive. Ethan's knees weakened. Sweat dripped down his face. "I didn't sign up for this," he muttered, but Soraya's gaze burned into him. "It is no accident," she said, her voice sharp. "You were chosen," Ethan snapped. "Chosen for what? To die in a cave?" Her grip tightened on his arm. "Chosen to decide," she whispered. Her words were heavy, filled with meaning he didn't yet understand. The Guardians moved again. 3 glowing giants stepping closer, their stone bodies shedding dust like falling ash. Their eyes locked on Ethan. Soraya pulled him to his feet. "We must leave this place," she said. "If they reach you here, the temple will collapse." Ethan's breath caught. "Collapse? You mean the whole valley?" She nodded once. "Yes, the temple will bury us all." The chamber trembled as cracks split across the ceiling. Stones crashed down around them. Ethan grabbed her hand and sprinted toward a side passage. The Guardians roared, their heavy steps shaking the floor as they chased. The passage was narrow, forcing Ethan to squeeze through broken stone. Dust scratched his throat. He could hear the Guardians behind, forcing their massive bodies into the passage, breaking the walls as they pushed through. Ethan and Soraya stumbled into another chamber. This one smaller, darker carvings covered every wall. Glowing faintly as Soraya stepped inside, "This is a memory room," she whispered. "It shows truth." Before Ethan could reply, The carving shifted, light rippled across the walls, and images appeared, shadows of battles long ago. He saw alien warriors fighting monstrous creatures. He saw a woman, Soraya herself, standing at the center, her body glowing as she raised a spear of light. Ethan's eyes widened. "That's you," he whispered. Soraya's gaze lowered. "It was," she said softly. Long ago, the vision showed her turning to stone, sealing herself at the heart of the temple. The guardians surrounded her, bowing before her sacrifice. Then the light faded, leaving only the glow of the runes. Ethan's chest tightened. "You were their leader," he said, "and now they're trying to kill you." Her eyes glimmered with sorrow. "Time changes loyalty," she whispered. "Now they protect the secret itself, not me." The chamber shook violently. The guardians were breaking through, their roars filled the air. Ethan's mind raced. He grabbed Soraya's hand. "If they want the secret safe, then maybe they think I'm the threat." Soraya's glowing eyes locked on his. "You are," she whispered, "because you can break it." The wall behind them split open with a crash. The guardians burst into the chamber, towering over them, their glowing eyes fixed on Ethan. Ethan's breath shook. His hand brushed the carvings again, light flared around him. The guardians growled, stepping closer. Soraya gripped his arm tightly, her voice fierce. "Ethan, you must choose, run, or command them." His heart hammered in his chest. His throat dry, sweat ran down his back. The guardians closed in. Every step shaking the ground. Ethan raised his hand, glowing runes sparking under his touch. For the first time, he felt the temple's power flow through him, and the guardians awakened fully, their roars shaking the heavens. The ground split open under Ethan's boots as the guardians roared. The glow of the runes lit his face. His hand pressed against the wall, trembling as raw energy surged into him. The temple was alive, and for a moment, it listened only to him. The guardians stopped moving. Their giant frames stiffened, their glowing eyes dimmed as if uncertain. Ethan's chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. His heart beat so fast it hurt. Soraya stood close, watching him with sharp, glowing eyes. "You see now," she whispered. "The temple obeys you." Ethan pulled his hand back quickly. The light faded. The guardians' eyes flared bright again. They growled, stone fragments falling as they stepped closer. Ethan staggered back. "It doesn't obey me, it just reacts." Soraya's voice was firm. "That is enough." Before Ethan could reply, the ceiling cracked above them, stones fell. A huge block slammed into the floor. Shattering into pieces, dust filled the chamber. The guardians' roars shook the ruins like thunder. Soraya pulled Ethan toward a narrow path on the side, her grip surprisingly strong. "Come, we cannot fight them." "Not yet." They slipped through a broken archway, rushing into the night. The cold wind cut against Ethan's skin. He gasped for breath, his chest ached behind them. The temple glowed faintly, cracks of light spreading through the ancient stone. The villagers at the edge of the valley saw the glow. Their eyes widened in horror. They whispered to each other, pointing at Ethan and the glowing alien woman beside him. An old man shouted, "The curse is broken! Doom is upon us." Ethan stumbled to a stop, sweat dripping from his face. The villagers backed away, fear in their eyes. Mothers pulled their children close, men raised crude weapons but dared not step forward. Soraya looked at them with sadness. "They know the truth, but not the whole of it," she whispered. Ethan's throat was dry. "What truth?" The old man raised his shaking hand, pointing at Ethan. "You touched the statue," he cried. "You woke her. Now the guardians will follow you until death. The curse is upon us all." The villagers shouted in fear. Their voices rose like a storm. Ethan's chest tightened. He had wanted adventure, answers, but now he saw only chaos and fear. He turned to Soraya, his voice sharp. "Is it true? Did I curse them?" Soraya's glowing eyes softened. "Not curse," she whispered. "Choice. You awakened the temple's memory. The guardians hunt you not because of what you are, but what you can do." Ethan shook his head. "This is insane!" A sudden roar echoed across the valley. The villagers screamed and scattered. Ethan spun around, his blood ran cold. From the temple ruins, more guardians emerged, their glowing eyes scanning the valley like predators. "They're coming here," Ethan said. Panic in his voice. Soraya stepped closer, her glow brighter now. "They will not stop," she whispered. "Until the seal is restored or destroyed." Ethan stared at her, his voice breaking. "And I'm the one who has to decide that, me?" Her eyes locked on his. "Yes." The guardians marched into the valley, Each step shook the earth. Villagers fled into the hills, their cries echoing in the night. Ethan and Soraya stood alone against the advancing giants. Ethan's breath came fast, his fists clenched. Why me? I'm just a guy who poked a statue. Soraya touched his chest, right over his heart, her voice soft but steady. Because you are human. Ethan's mind raced. That's not an answer. Her eyes glowed brighter. Long ago we sealed the darkness, but it was not with our blood. It was with the blood of your kind. Ethan froze. Her words hit him harder than the roar of the Guardians. Humans? We weren't even here back then. Soraya shook her head. Your world was watched. Long before you knew, we saw potential in you. Strength even we did not have. She leaned closer, whispering, You are not an accident, Ethan. You are a legacy. The Guardians drew closer, their shadows stretching across the valley. Ethan's knees felt weak, his heart pounded like a drum. A voice inside him screamed to run, to hide, to forget all of this. But Soraya's words cut through the fear, her glowing hand still pressed against his chest. You must choose seal the darkness again, or let it rise. The ground trembled harder. One Guardian raised its massive arm, its glowing fist ready to crush. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. He had no weapon, no plan. Only Soraya's words and the strange bond the temple had shown him. At the last second, he grabbed her hand. Their fingers locked. The glow around her flared brighter. For an instant, the Guardians hesitated. Their eyes flickered. Ethan raised his free hand toward them. His voice cracked, but he shouted anyway, And stop! The runes on the ground lit up, spreading outward like fire. The Guardians froze mid-step. Their glowing eyes dimmed slightly. Ethan's arm shook, sweat dripping down his face. He felt energy rushing through him, like he was standing inside a storm. His bones ached, his skin burned, but the Guardians obeyed. If only for a moment, Soraya's eyes widened. You command them, she whispered. Even without knowing how. Ethan gasped for air, his hand trembling. I can't hold it, he said through gritted teeth. It's too much. The glow faded, the Guardians roared again. Shaking off the command, their eyes blazed brighter. Their rage louder, Ethan stumbled back, almost collapsing. Soraya caught him, her face close to his ear, her whisper sharp. You cannot run from this, the curse is not on the village. It is on you, her words chilled him. His fate was sealed the moment he touched the statue. The Guardians would never stop. Ethan looked up at the glowing giants advancing again. His chest rose and fell with ragged breaths. He knew then. He could never go back to being just an explorer. The temple had chosen him. The valley was silent after the villagers ran. Only the sound of heavy footsteps remained. The Guardians marched slowly, their glowing eyes locked on Ethan. The air felt heavy, each breath like breathing fire. Ethan's chest rose and fell as he stood frozen. Soraya gripped his arm, her voice urgent. We cannot face them here, come. She pulled him toward a narrow path along the cliff. Ethan's legs moved on instinct, his mind was a storm. The word curse echoed again and again, his blood, his touch. His fate, everything tied to this nightmare. The Guardians followed, but their steps were slow. Their giant frames could not move easily along the cliff. For now, Ethan and Soraya were ahead. They stumbled into a cave hidden in the rocks. Darkness swallowed them. Only Soraya's faint glow lighting the walls. Ethan leaned against the stone. Gasping for air, sweat ran down his forehead. His voice cracked. I don't get it, why me? Why would my blood matter? I'm just human. Soraya's glowing eyes softened. She placed her hand against the cave wall. Strange symbols lit up under her touch. The air grew warmer. The wall shimmered like water. This place holds memory, she whispered. If you are ready. It will show you truth, Ethan frowned. Memory? What do you mean, like history? She nodded. Not history told, history lived. Before Ethan could speak, the wall rippled, light spilled out, and suddenly he was no longer in the cave. He stood in a vast plain of light. His body felt weightless. Soraya stood beside him, her glow brighter than before. The plain shifted, forming shapes, cities, towers, alien armies marching. The vision showed an ancient world alive with power. Ethan's eyes widened. What is this? Soraya's voice echoed softly. My world. Before the fall, Ethan watched as alien warriors, tall and fierce, fought against a darkness that spread like a storm. Shadowy creatures with burning eyes swarmed across the land. The aliens fought bravely, but the darkness was endless. Then Ethan saw her, Soraya, but not weak like now. She stood tall, her armor glowing, her spear of light cutting through shadows. Behind her, armies rallied. Her voice carried across the battlefield, commanding both fear and hope. Ethan's breath caught. That's you, Soraya's gaze lowered. Yes. Long ago, the vision shifted again. He saw the darkness breaking through, consuming cities, swallowing towers. The warriors fell one by one. The guardians, those massive statues, stood last, holding the line. Then came the ritual. Soraya at the center, her body glowing brighter, her voice chanting words Ethan could not understand. She raised her spear. The guardians knelt around her, their bodies turning to stone, their eyes glowing. The light expanded, trapping the darkness, sealing it deep within the temple. Soraya's body stiffened, her skin cracked. She turned to stone, just like the statues, her last breath whispering across time. The vision faded and Ethan was back in the cave. His body shook, his knees weak. He leaned against the wall, his voice breaking. You sacrificed yourself. Soraya's face was calm but sad. Yes, to lock the darkness away, I gave everything. Ethan shook his head. But why me? Why can I control the temple? Soraya stepped closer, her voice quiet but heavy. Because you are the same blood that sealed it. Ethan froze. His throat went dry. The same blood? She nodded. Long ago humans were chosen. Your ancestors gave their blood to bind the seal. That blood lives in you, Ethan. Ethan's chest tightened. He wanted to laugh, to deny, but the memory he had seen burned in his mind. It felt too real to be false, he whispered. So all this time, Earth wasn't just ignored. It was part of it. Soraya's eyes glowed. Yes, your kind was never forgotten. You are the key, and now? The seal weakens because the world waits for you to decide. The cave trembled, dust fell from the ceiling. The guardians' roars echoed outside, they were still searching. Their glowing eyes shone faintly through the cracks of the rock. Ethan clenched his fists, his heart raced. If I'm really the key, then I can seal it again, right? We can end this. Soraya looked at him with sorrow. Yes, you can, but sealing means sacrifice, as it did for me. Ethan's breath caught. Sacrifice? You mean I'd have to? She nodded. To bind the darkness again, you must give yourself to the temple. As I did, the words crushed him. His stomach twisted, his voice broke. No, there has to be another way. Soraya's gaze softened. Perhaps there is, perhaps together. We can find it. Ethan's chest ached. His mind screamed with questions. He wanted to run, to forget. But deep down he knew the truth. There was no escape. The cave shook harder. Cracks split across the walls. The guardian's fist slammed outside, breaking the rock. Time was running out. Soraya grabbed his hand, her voice sharp. You must decide soon. Ethan looked at her, sweat dripping from his face. Decide what? Her glowing eyes locked on his. If you will save the galaxy or let it burn. The cave wall split open. Light spilled in. The massive form of a guardian forced its way through. Its glowing eyes fixed on Ethan, his heart hammered, his breath came fast. He knew then, his choices were no longer his own. The hidden memory had revealed the truth, and with it, the weight of a galaxy's fate pressed down on his shoulders. The guardian stepped closer, and the curse grew heavier. The cave wall collapsed with a thunderous crash. Stone fragments rained down. Ethan pulled Soraya away as the guardian's massive arm pushed through the gap. Its glowing eyes blazed like fire. Its roar shook the earth. They stumbled out through another tunnel. Choking on dust, the night sky opened above them. Dark and endless, Ethan gasped for air, his chest burning. The guardians climbed over the rocks behind, their glowing eyes sweeping across the valley like searchlights. Soraya leaned heavily on Ethan, her body weak, her voice was strained. They will not stop. Not until you are theirs. Ethan's throat tightened. Why me? Why not you? You're the one they were guarding. She shook her head. No. Now you are the seal's heir, the blood they were bound to. The temple awakened you, not me. That makes you their target. Ethan cursed under his breath. He felt small, helpless, hunted. His whole life he had been ordinary. Just a man with a thirst for adventure. Now the galaxy wanted him dead. A rumble filled the sky. Ethan looked up and froze. Ships broke through the clouds, sleek, dark, and alien. Their engines glowed with burning light. Dozens of them descended toward the valley, their silhouettes like hawks circling prey. Ethan's stomach dropped. Who are they? Soraya's glowing eyes narrowed. The hunt has begun, she whispered. News of the awakening has spread. They come from across the stars. Empires, cults, mercenaries, all want the power of the seal. Ethan's skin went cold. You mean, they're all after me? She nodded once, her voice low. Yes, to use you, to control you, to kill you. You are the prize. The ship spread out. Beams of light cutting across the valley. Guardians roared in response, their glowing eyes challenging the intruders. The night turned into chaos. Stone giants versus ships. Beams of fire clashing with roars of stone. Ethan dragged Soraya into the cover of broken cliffs. His heart pounded. He could hardly think. This is insane. I'm not a soldier. I'm not a leader. I'm just... Me, Soraya looked at him firmly. And yet you hold what they cannot. That makes you more dangerous than them all. A beam of light struck the ground near them. The earth exploded. Rocks flew through the air. Ethan shielded Soraya with his body. The heat burned his skin. His ears rang from the blast. Through the smoke, figures emerged, tall, armored aliens carrying weapons that glowed faintly. Their eyes shone with greed. One of them pointed at Ethan, shouting in a harsh tongue. Ethan didn't understand the words, but he understood the meaning. Capture him alive. Soraya gripped his arm, her whisper sharp. Do not let them touch you if they bind you. The galaxy falls. Ethan's blood froze. He grabbed a sharp rock from the ground, his only weapon. The aliens closed in. Their armor reflecting the glow of the ships. One lunged. Ethan swung wildly. The rock cracked against its helmet. Sparks flew. The alien staggered back with a hiss. Ethan's heart hammered. I can't fight them all. Soraya raised her hand weakly. Her eyes flared. A wave of light burst out, knocking two aliens back. But the effort drained her. She collapsed against Ethan, her body trembling. He caught her, panic in his chest. Stay with me. Her voice was faint but steady. You must run, Liv. Only then does hope remain. Ethan shook his head. I'm not leaving you. More aliens advanced, their weapons aimed. The Guardians roared in the distance, smashing ships with their massive arms. Fire lit the sky. The valley became a battlefield. Ethan looked at Soraya, then at the aliens closing in. His blood burned. He pressed his hand against the rocky wall beside him, just as he had in the temple. The runes hidden in the stone flickered to life. Light spread under his palm. The ground shook violently. The aliens froze, their eyes widening in fear. The stone itself seemed to obey him. The ground split open, swallowing two of them whole. The others staggered back, shouting in panic. Ethan pulled Soraya with him, running deeper into the cliffs as the ruins themselves shifted to cover their escape. His chest ached, his body shook. He barely understood what he had done. But the temple's power answered him. Soraya's weak smile flickered. You are learning, she whispered. Ethan gritted his teeth. I'm not learning, I'm surviving. Above them, more ships descended, fire rained down. The Guardians roared back. The war in the valley grew louder. Soraya's voice was faint. This is only the beginning. The galaxy will not stop. From this night on, you are the hunted, and every star will know your name. Ethan's chest tightened. The words hit him harder than the explosions. He wasn't just hunted here, he was hunted everywhere. He pulled Soraya into the shadows, his breath shaking, his voice low but fierce. Then let them come, I won't run forever. Her glowing eyes studied him, searching. Then she whispered, spoken like one who carries destiny. The sky burned with war. The Guardians fought against ships. The valley turned to fire and chaos, and in the middle of it, a lone human stood, marked by fate, hunted by empires, and holding the choice that could save or destroy the galaxy. The hunt had begun, and Ethan was its prize. The valley burned like a furnace. Alien ships filled the sky. Their beams scorched the ground. Guardians roared as they tore through metal with stone fists. Sparks and fire lit the night. The air smelled of smoke, dust, and blood. Ethan dragged Soraya across the shattered rocks. His chest heaved, his body screamed for rest. But he knew stopping meant death behind them. Armored hunters shouted in alien tongues. Chasing, Soraya's glow was fading. Her steps weak, still she pressed forward, her eyes fixed on the towering ruins ahead. The seal chamber, she whispered. We must reach it. Ethan's throat burned. And then what? What do I even do when we get there? Her voice was faint, almost lost in the noise. Decide. The word cut through him sharper than any blade. Decide between sealing the darkness again or breaking it. His stomach twisted, his mind screamed. How can I choose for a whole galaxy? They reached the heart of the ruins. The ground shook as Guardians fought above. Their massive shadows blocked out the fire-lit sky. In the center stood a great door, half buried in stone carved with glowing runes. Ethan stared breathless. That's it? Soraya nodded weakly. Yes, behind that, the seal. The darkness waits. Before Ethan could move, a blast struck nearby. The ground exploded. He shielded Soraya as rocks rained down. When the dust cleared, hunters stood around them, weapons raised. Their leader stepped forward, his armor shining black. His voice hissed through a strange device. The human belongs to us, Ethan's heart pounded. He tightened his grip on Soraya's hand. Not happening, the hunters charged. Blades flashed, Ethan swung a fallen stone. Smashing one aside, another aimed a weapon. Suddenly a guardian's fist smashed down, crushing them. The battlefield was chaos. Enemies on all sides. Soraya tugged Ethan toward the door, her voice urgent. Touch it. Only you can open it. Ethan pressed his trembling hand against the runes. They blazed with light. The massive stone door groaned and shifted. Dust poured down as it opened, a blast of cold air swept out. The smell was old, heavy, like the breath of something waiting too long. Inside lay a chamber of shadows. At its center, a black pit pulsed faintly. Ethan froze, his skin crawled, his instincts screamed wrong. Soraya's eyes locked on it, her voice a whisper. The heart of the seal. Ethan staggered back. That thing, it feels alive. Her gaze was heavy. That is what we trapped, the darkness. The hunger that devours worlds. The hunters forced their way in behind them. Shouting, guardians slammed through walls to follow. The chamber shook under the clash. The pit pulsed stronger as if feeding on the chaos. Soraya gripped Ethan's shoulders, her eyes burned into his. Now, you must choose, his chest tightened. Choose what? Her voice trembled. Seal it again. With your blood, or break it and release the darkness upon the stars. Ethan's throat went dry. Sweat dripped down his face. If I seal it, I die, right? Her silence was answer enough. The hunters shouted, Kill him! Weapons raised, guardians roared. The world seemed to collapse around them. But all Ethan saw was Soraya's glowing eyes, waiting, trusting. His heart ached, his voice cracked. There has to be another way. Soraya leaned closer, her lips almost touching his ear. Her whisper was soft, almost tender. Perhaps there is, perhaps together. Ethan's chest shook. He stared at the pit, then back at her. Her glow flickered, her body weak. But her hand still held his tightly. He raised his free hand over the pit. The runes on the ground lit up. Energy surged through him, his bones felt like fire. His vision blurred, he cried out, I can't do this alone. Soraya pressed her hand over his, her whisper fierce. You are not alone. The chamber exploded with light. Hunters screamed. Guardians froze. The pit roared like a living thing. But Ethan and Soraya stood together. Their hands joined, their bodies glowing brighter. The light grew until it swallowed everything. For a moment, Ethan felt nothing but peace. He saw visions, Earth's blue skies, children laughing, stars shining across endless space. Then he felt Soraya's voice inside his mind. Gentle, thank you. The light faded slowly. The chamber was silent. The hunters were gone. Their weapons shattered. The guardians knelt, their glowing eyes dim. The pit was sealed once more, its pulse gone. Ethan collapsed to his knees. Gasping, he looked down at his hand, still glowing faintly. Soraya knelt beside him, her strength returned. Her silver hair shone in the dim light. She touched his cheek, her smile soft. You did not just bind the darkness. You changed the seal itself? Ethan blinked, confused. What do you mean? Her eyes glowed brighter. You gave it life, not just blood. You chose to fight with me, not alone, and that changed everything. Ethan's chest eased. A tired smile crossed his lips. So? I don't die. She shook her head gently. Not today, outside. The night was calm. The fire had faded. The guardians stood silently around the ruins. No longer hunters, but watchers. Ethan rose slowly, his legs weak. He looked at Soraya. So what now? Her eyes softened. Now the galaxy will know a human stood against the curse, and they will come. Some with fear, some with hope. Ethan sighed, rubbing his tired face. Great. Hunted across the stars? Soraya smiled faintly. Not hunted, Ethan, chosen. The wind swept through the ruins, carrying the last whisper of the temple. And in that silence, Ethan knew one thing. His life would never be ordinary again. The human had become part of legend, and the galaxy would never forget.